Peace. Ali coming back at you on behalf of SLEMyers.com and also our online metaphysical store, L9shop.com. Alright, in this video, I want to give people that are studying astrology a very simple outline in order to study your astrology chart. I noticed when I was studying astrology, it was hard to find what was the most important aspects of the chart. It was hard to find different resources that I can trust. So after studying astrology for as long as I have and finding the resources, I want to make this video to give you a baseline understanding or outline on how to study your astrology chart. So the first thing you need obviously is a chart. If you do not have one already, I'm going to give you a couple ways you can do so. But there's a couple things you have to take note of or figure out that you want to do. The first is, do you want to use Western astrology or do you want to use sidereal or Vedic astrology? The difference between the two are very much, it's going to be extreme. So you need to make sure that if you resonate more with Western astrology, which is most people usually vibe with that system, you want to make sure you stick with that. If you want to use Vedic astrology, which is based off the sidereal placements, then you want to stick with that. So figure out which system you want to use. If you want my personal opinion, I personally like the Vedic astrology, or Jyotish as it's called, Jyotish, Jyotish. So after you figure out which system you want to use, you have to obviously find a place to get your birth chart. So this is very simple. Just go to Google and put free astrology chart. If you want to put a system with it, put free tropical astrology or free Western astrology chart. If we're using Jyotish, you can put free Vedic astrology chart or free Jyotish chart. For Vedic astrology, I recommend the website AstroVed. That's ASTROVED, AstroVed.com. Been using them for years, haven't had any problems, and it's free. So you want to use AstroVed or use an online astrology website in order to get your birth chart. And the keywords that it may say is natal chart, N-A-T-A-L, natal chart or birth chart. So find what system you want to use, get your birth chart, and at this point, from this point on, you should have your chart already. Okay, now that you have your birth chart, what you're going to see is 12 houses. Each house means something. So the first house is considered your ascendant. That's going to mean the way you present yourself, the way you come across, the way you go about your whole life. It's like the way you approach different life situations. So each house you can look at as a school, you can look at as a classroom, you can look at as a subject, or you can look at as a different area of life. So you're going to have 12 houses. Each house means something. You're also going to have different planets. If you're doing Western astrology, you will have Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. If you're doing Vedic astrology or Jyotish, you will have all those planets except Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. It'll go all the way up to Mars. So at this point in your birth chart, you're going to have your houses, you're going to have your planets, and obviously you're going to have the signs. So make sure you identify. You can see the glyphs. If they have glyphs on a chart, you may need to go to Google and make sure you know what each glyph means, because there's a glyph for Mercury, there's a glyph for Mars, there's a glyph for every planet. There's also a symbol for each sign. So if you're not very aware of this, or it's not explicitly laid out on your birth chart, then you're going to have to go to Google and make sure you know what each symbol means. But at this point, you should know, you should have all 12 houses. You're going to have planets in some of the houses, but you're going to have signs on all 12 houses. So you need to make sure you know that before you proceed. Okay, now that you know your planets, you have your chart, you know your planets, the signs, you have all your houses, what you want to do is go to YouTube, youtube.com. So from this point on, I'm going to give you particular, specific things, specific wordings on how to put them in the Google search engine on YouTube in order to find videos that resonate with your chart. So the first one I'm going to teach you in this video is you want to find out the meaning of each sign. So go to your chart and you want to find out the each meaning of each sign. So if you have your sun sign in Capricorn, do you want to put sun in Capricorn? So you want to go to each planet and see what sign is in. So the first one I use, Sun in Capricorn. Next, Moon in Gemini or Moon in Sagittarius. Next, Mercury in Scorpio or Mercury in Pisces. Next, Mars in Sagittarius or Mars in Capricorn. So you want to go to each planet and see what sign it's in. Put that in Google one at a time. You'll see videos showing you. You'll see a many videos, probably about 10 videos for each one. The main channel that I want you to focus on when you do your searches is a channel by the name of KRS Astrology. It's the channel is held by, I think his name is Kapil Raj. He's a Eastern dude, I believe he's Indian, but he's very knowledgeable and he's not so hard to understand. You can easily understand the words that's come out of his mouth. Very knowledgeable, knows what he's talking about. I recommend that you look at his videos for each of the placements I'm talking about. Okay, now that you know what each sign is and how it's associated with each planet, what you want to do now is see what planets are in whatever house they're in. So take the first planet, Sun. Which house is the Sun is it in your third house? Is it in your fifth house? Is it in your seventh house? Find out where the Sun is and then put that in a Google search in YouTube. Sun in seventh house. Next, go to your Moon. Moon, ninth house. Moon in 10th house or Moon in 12th house. Wherever your Moon is, put that in Google and YouTube. Next, go to Mars, then Mercury, then Venus, then Jupiter, then Saturn. If you're doing Western, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So at this point, you want to put in the planet and whatever house is in, put that in Google and look at the video concerning that particular placement. Quick thing to note too, if you have multiple planets in a particular house, you can also Google all those planets. So say that you have your Sun, Mercury, and Mars in the 7th house, then you put Sun, Mercury, Mars in 7th house. Just want to make sure I notated that in case you did have multiple planets in a particular house. Okay, the last tip I want to give, and this is probably a little bit more advanced. So if you're strictly a beginner dealing with astrology, you may not want to do this. But if you've been studying astrology, you're aware of the keywords. You have a good grasp of what's going on. One of the other things that you can do is look at the Lord ruler of each house. The Lord ruler is going to be like, say you have the Moon, say you have your first house is in Gemini. Say Gemini is in your first house. So the ruler of Gemini is Mercury. So what you do is you look and see where Mercury is in your chart. So say you have Mercury in the 7th house. So the first ruler is in the 7th house. Let me give another example. Let me use the 2nd house. Say in your 2nd house you had Cancer. Cancer is ruled by Moon. Say you look at where your Moon placement is, your Moon is in the 8th house. So you put 2nd Lord in 8th house. Essentially what you're doing is looking at each house, seeing the ruler of the house or the Lord that rules that particular house. And then you want to find out where that Lord is or where that planet is. So you put 3rd Lord in 9th house or 3rd Lord in 10th house. Next, 4th Lord in 7th house or 4th Lord in the 1st house. You want to find out the ruler of each house and you want to make sure you put that in Google, in YouTube or whatever, and it'll show you videos for that. Like I said, the KRS Astrology, if you put in everything that I'm talking about in this video, KRS Astrology is going to have a video for it. So I highly recommend that channel. So this has been Ali. If you want to find out more information about myself and what we do, be sure to visit my main website, SaliMyers.com. Also, if you need help with your astrology chart or you want somebody to help you read it or look at the different planets, the different signs, different houses, and all that good stuff for you, you still have questions, you can sign up for a consultation, SaliMyers.com. Click on one-on-one and you can find out all the information to do so right there. So until next time, this has been Ali. Peace.